Hey, I'm Kristen, and this is my final pass for my side view walk cycle assignment. So there were a lot of things that I needed to change on this from my rough pass. So here's what it looks like all together. So at first, the first thing I did, of course, was I added more frames between the walk cycle poses that I had already drawn for the rough pass. So I drew a bunch of frames in between those, so this is what all those frames look like. And I also noticed that once I had drawn all of these in-between frames and I pressed play, it kind of looked like he was skating across the screen, like his foot would just kind of slide as he was taking his steps. And I just couldn't figure out why it looked like that. But I tested a few things out and I realized it was because I had him traveling too far of a distance with the few steps he was taking. He's only taking like 2 steps here, 3 steps, yeah, about 3 steps here. And I had him a lot smaller than this. I had him like this big, and then he would travel across the whole screen just in 2 or 3 steps. So that was the first mistake I made. So I moved all the frames closer together so that that wouldn't happen anymore. And at that point, my whole animation was down here in this left corner, and that was way too small. I needed it to fill up the whole screen. So I then had to edit all of my frames in order to make them all bigger and fit into the screen. So I had to figure out where that was, and I was able to figure it out so I could make him bigger. So, and one other thing I did was, I'll show you with the onion skin, is whenever his foot is touching the ground, I made sure to keep his foot kind of in that same spot until it's lifted off the ground. So here you see it's being lifted off the ground here. And then with this foot is touching the ground now, but I keep it kind of in that same spot the whole time as he shifts into the next pose. And then once he lifts that foot off the ground is when that foot is finally able to move. And then this foot has to stay in the same place. So that was something else that I messed up on at first, was instead of having that foot kind of layer over itself and let the rest of the body kind of do its thing, I had each pose just kind of separate from each other, and that was another thing that caused that sliding motion that I talked about before. So that's what I had to do in order to finally get it to look right, and this is what I ended up with.